In Naples, 8 abandoned buildings, including a former prison and former convents, have been transformed into urban commons. These buildings host a range of mutual aid, social, political and cultural events and activities. These massive buildings are not run by the state, nor are they controlled by private organisations. Instead, they are organised democratically by weekly local assemblies, open to all. Naples' urban commons break the myth that our lives should be shaped by a few people's imagination. Instead, they offer a glimpse into a future that we all co-create. Last November, municipalist movements from across Europe converged in Naples. Each movement offers many answers to the question, how can we collectively imagine our neighbourhoods, our cities and our future?
Okay, I'm Alice and I'm an artist and an activist, and I am from Naples and I work in the Asilo. The Asilo it's an open space and it's an open laboratory, a cultural and artistic laboratory first of all, and it allows everyone to participate in different forms. We don't have any forms of boundaries. For instance, we don't have tickets if you want to enjoy a movie or something. We operate with donations, so this means that everyone is allowed and is free to come. There are so many different arts that you can make in the Asilo. So we have different kind of organizations and groups in the Asilo, and there are artists like performative artists, theater-wise, dance-wise. We have craftsmen of any sort. We have people interested more in cinema, so they make sure to produce or to share different movies. Then there is the library where you have, often we have students, but also we can have several workshops, for instance.
My name is Natalia Simovic. I am now almost for 10 years an activist, an organizer, and now a local councillor in Belgrade city on behalf of, it was called a social movement, Don't Let Belgrade Down, but now it's turned into a party, Green Left Front, on a national level. Our story started with local struggle, with opposing to a devastating new development called Belgrade Waterfront that was in fact a face of devastation of a city in many ways: urbanistic, environmental devastation, infrastructural devastation, eviction of housing. So from that point, we have, through grassroots campaigning and power building among the people, created a new political platform that Green Left Front is now.
My name is Lisa Jaspers from Berlin, and I'm part of a group that's called Berlin Zusammen, Berlin Together at the moment. We are basically a group of individuals and initiatives, organizations in Berlin from very different areas, like from the climate justice movement, from the anti-discrimination movement, from affordable living, and we're trying to build a network or a group, like a Bündnis, that actually works together closely in order to put something into practice that can oppose the current government in Berlin, which is conservative. I think there's a very strong dissent on, or like a very strong feeling of not being happy with the politics of the city, even while we were still having a very leftish government. And I think for very valid reasons, because I think there's something that is intrinsically problematic in the way that party politics works.
I'm Giulia Massolino. I'm from Adesso Trieste, which is a municipalist organization based in Trieste, in the northeastern Italy, close to the border with Slovenia. I'm a regional councillor, and we have started this project in 2019. We started by mobilizing citizens of Trieste because we were struggling with an issue that is that Trieste was seen as an old lady, and because of its past as a harbor of the Austrian Empire. And so as if its future was already written and nothing could be changed. Instead, we wanted to flip this vision, and we decided to start some participatory laboratories focused on future visions, just to let people see Trieste as a young girl that could still have all its future in front of her. One of the projects we have been carrying on in the last years is the MadLab project that was financed thanks to the contribution of the EMN network. It was a participatory laboratory to reimagine a neighborhood that really needs a green infrastructure.
At the Asilo, we have the assemblies every week. Since 11 years, we have an assembly every Monday. From there, we decide everything. It's based on general consensus, so we try and make sure that everyone agrees on what we want to do, politically wise, but also culturally wise. And from there, then we organize in specific tables, and they are themed tables. So we have the performative arts table or the cinema table and so on. From these two perspectives, we are able to co-create something that is commonly shared. As the assembly is open to everyone, we have citizens who are able to join and raise issues they want to get through the Asilo.
I personally think that there's a very big need for different political narratives and also different political forms that are not traditional party, old party system.
Well, our story is basically we've used all the tools in the book, in the political book or otherwise, in grassroots organizing book. We started from the streets, essentially, with protests, with civic disobedient actions, with informing and educating people on their right to the city. After exhausting all of these, we've decided to move into institutional politics and try to systemically change things from the inside. Our vision is actually creating a city for all, and city that is green, that is city of solidarity and social justice, and where all the means and all the resources are equally distributed as much as possible, where public spaces are for everyone and where city belongs to everyone, in fact.
The Berlin Zusammen group or network is still very I would say organized around trust and personal relationships. I think we're still a little bit looking at the formalization of that process, because what I've heard earlier about the EMN I thought was very inspiring, not getting too involved in the beginning with all the organizational aspects that you can also have very big fights about, but actually getting to know each other, experiencing the presence of the other people, of the other movements, and also having more informal spaces where we can actually meet and exchange, and then slowly getting to a place where we build more of a decision-making process.
When we started these participatory projects yet in 2019, we still weren't any movement, let's say. We were just a group of people. And after that, we started to attract many different persons that started to propose their expertise, and they're willing to participate in a public debate on the future of Trieste.
The Asilo moves from these simple principles. So it's anti-fascist, anti-racist, anti-sexist, especially. It is something really important generally for the city, because it's an anti-fascist city, but also it needs the strength to keep acting in this way. Of course, it's these principles are the start from everything that we built, not only in the city, in the Asilo, but also in the city in general. We try and move just from those principles. Everything can change, everyone can have their own opinions, but that has to be a firm point?
I think it's about doing things together. I'd say that no one is above anyone. You have to have processes that allow for collective intelligence, for discussion, for ideas that are sometimes found in the most unlikely places, and the energy is found in most unlikely. You have to engage the community connectors, so the people in your, bakeries, shops, somewhere where people frequently visit and frequent every day, where they get and verify the information that's been placed to them through media, that actually the trust is being built on the ground. The situation in Serbia is such that you do not have access to large media. There is democracy is actually very frail, there's a lot of electoral manipulation. So what was our most important tool is actually being with people in neighborhoods, being present everywhere, organizing people on the ground, whether it's through different discussions, neighborhood assemblies, different events that would happen locally, but also based on the topics that people in certain neighborhoods recognize their own issues. So really targeting and focusing the politics, meeting the people where their life is, and what their real life issues are, and trying to kind of articulate political policies through that.
One very practical things we did, there were the first pages of the local newspaper in 2015. So we drafted it actually with some article, how could be the articles of the future. After that, people were so enthusiastic about being able to be part of something that was starting to do something, that we decided to run for elections. So we created an association, and from this association we started to debate about what could be the program for the political program for governing the city, and this is also interesting because we use the focus in 10 years and not the 5 years that are usually for a mandate, because we thought that we needed to put the focus of the imagination a little bit higher.
In order to create a culture that's actually inclusive and can hold perspectives and experiences from all the different groups we're talking about, and especially from the anti-racist movements and the migrant movements, I think we have to make sure that culture changes, because otherwise people will not stay, because it's going to empty their resources and not refill it. So I think, and also usually these people are really, in their own organizations, are experts in creating, lived experts in creating work cultures that are very different, that are very much based on solidarity, that are very much based on love and connection and helping each other and being there for each other. So policies of the future need to be very intrinsically connected to the needs of the people who at the moment suffer the most from the policies we see, and also might have the best ideas for solutions that we can bring to the table.
When you do not have a lot of resources and a lot of power to begin with, all you have is making friends. So basically you have to be on the ground, you have to be speaking to people, you have to make them imagine your vision, but by meeting them where they're at. Thinking about you belong here as much as anyone else does, and your neighborhood, the way you live your life, it's all politics. So this was a key thing we had to dismantle. We had to educate people, but engage people in the conversation that politics belongs to everyone.
I've noticed that one of the most important things is to actually not develop or not invite people to join the table when the table is already partly built, And I think for that it is really key to, and I think that's really hard because usually it's too late for that, but I think it's very key to not only create relationships for the purpose of making your culture better, but actually to be as human beings in a world where you realize maybe most of my friends are from my social class. Maybe most of my friends don't experience racism every day.
That was the first thing, because it was always party politics. It was always something institutional and far away. So once we kind of changed the narrative a little bit, then it organically started happening. People were brave enough, were empowered enough to really stand in the places and demand their rights, demand their neighborhoods, demand better public transportation, better, more parks, more greenery, and really defending the public spaces, in fact.
And during the political campaign, we did a lot of urban explorations. We walked everywhere in the city, knowing every centimeter of our territory. And the very last day of the campaign, we also do a one-day walk from sunrise to sunset, so 30 kilometers around the town, and many people came with us. It was like a march to conquer the institutions and to enter the institutions. After that, since we think that the political work shouldn't be about seats, but more about walking together toward a common objective and pushing all the time your view to a brighter future.
Every week we have the assemblies, and we can talk about political aspects, but also more practical things like what are we gonna do next. But then sometimes we feel the need to reassess ourselves or start and focus on specific themes. For instance, we can decide to have a talk about our attitude toward sexual issues or anti-sexism. And so we decide to have these big assemblies to focus on specific issues. And just to make sure that those specific issues are really important, which are important for us, are treated in an important and deep way.
When you walk together with somebody else, you need to constantly check how they feel, if you're going at the same speed, and if you're going in the same direction, if somebody feels more tired than another person. So you just need to constantly check each other, how the mood of the group is. And I think that this is something that should be done in politics too.
So I think one example that I personally came across that felt very different to me was an organization called Kotti and Co, which is a social housing in the middle of Kreuzberg. And I think what they do is that since everybody lives together, who also organizes together, there's a lot of barbecues, a lot of informal, kind of things where people just hang out, where they, meet in front of their apartment every second day. And there's so much relationship there. And I feel like they're a good example because it is, I think, something that we need to aspire to in terms of social movement. It's a movement that managed to be really culturally and socially diverse in a way that is very different from a lot of movements that I know. And I think looking at this aspect of relationship building is something where we can learn a lot from, in terms of, where do we spend our time and energy? What do we build first? What do we focus on? So I think they are a really beautiful example.
I would suggest to anybody that wants to undergo a process like this one to walk a lot, so to exit the rooms, exit the houses, and exit also public buildings, and to go constantly and every day into the streets, talking with people and trying to understand their expectation, and always not being focused on the everyday problems or the everyday lives, but ask people, how do you see yourself and your town and your neighborhood in 10 years or in 20 years?
The advice I would give is to keep it open. For instance, we work in a really changing way. The Asilo doesn't have specific rules, it just follows principles. And as it's really grassrooted, everything can change all of a sudden or gradually, but it's something that transforms within the city and their needs.
When we were about to write our political program, our manifesto, we decided to use many different participatory techniques. We split into different groups. Each of them had a specific topic. For example, there were the environmental assembly, but not only. It's a really wide area, very wide topic. So we split also in subgroups like mobility or green areas or recycling. And each group were about to work with different methods. For example, we used a lot of backcasting methods. So we collectively decide a future objective in 10 years, and then we went back step by step, saying, okay, if in 10 years we want to arrive at what should be real 5 years in advance to allow that after 5 years.
I mean, we have entered into institutional politics, but what has been a greater success is really this citizen awakening. People have really, over these 10 years we've been working, we've kind of ignited this rebellious or political spirit in everyone, because people started really organizing on the ground, whether we've started the organizing or they autonomously did this. And I think this is one of the biggest successes, because I will probably get a little bit into a context, but there was a huge political apathy around the people. So a lot of mistrust in the politicians because of the monopolizing, because of hybrid regime and dictatorship and everything. So we've tried to, at least in the narrative and at least in terms of hopes and dreams, a little bit offer something different, offer people the power to really be asked what is happening in their city. And I think this energy is a force to be reckoned with now. And it's a matter of time when people that have never been in politics will actually start speaking for themselves and doing change for their own neighborhoods.
I think that we need a new narrative, and the narrative that we are usually feeling and also that the politicians sell to us is there's not enough resources to make our politics socially and ecologically inclusive. It's either that or that, so there's this kind of scarcity mindset behind the political system and the narrative we are participating in right now. And I think what's really important for the movements, if we want to bring together, like all the different areas of, climate justice and anti-racist work, and also, focusing on the people who actually are the poorest in the city and providing them with enough resources to have a good life. I think we have to break away from that narrative.
At every level you want to do something political, you must be able to collect ideas, to organize them and to put them in practice. And to do so, you need a lot of imagination and you need to be creative. I'm really obsessed about finding new methods of debating and discussing, because I think that I believe strongly that the top-down method is just it has been very much demonstrated to be a total failure.
The Commons started spreading, starting from the Asilo more than 10 years ago, and the Asilo was co-created in an atmosphere where there was a lot of clientelism as a mindset, a general mindset, and people, workers and artists were really frustrated with an atmosphere which didn't allow them to create, to work in an open and sharing way. So when the Asilo started, several others came in the same direction, and this allowed to have several spaces in Naples which were open to new ideas and where there was this kind of collaborative atmosphere where you could do something actually, and you could share different means of production, share different ideas and create different things, new things, in a way that generally the traditional organization and the traditional way of living didn't allow us.
Around the region, around the Balkan region, around the same time, Možemo, Zagreb je naš college started, so we are kind of comrades and friends across the borders. But this trickle down, it really inspired other smaller movements. So now there's a movement in Bosnia. It's really funny because Zagreb is Možemo, which is we can. We had a coalition called Moramo, we must, and then we also inspired the party within Bosnia. It's called We Want. So it's a little bit of a funny story how like this simple, this like inspiration comes from yes, we can do it, we must do it. We are the people that need to do it, and there has been this growth of different local movements on the left, and with the left and the green values of solidarity, starting from the grassroots, without previous political background, but really learning as we go. And sometimes starting from 0 point is really good because you are not prone to any kind of power or any kind of vested interests on the other side, so you can be kind of pure in this game, and while you learn, you innovate and you use many other political tools that haven't been tried before, and this is maybe why it catches people as well. It's something new, it's something that makes them feel heard, makes them feel seen on a different level, and on a different level of what a representational democracy has offered us this far.